David Moody, CEO of National Disability Services, welcome.
Thank you, Daniel. The NDIS, I think we can all agree, is an immature scheme. A lot is hoped for it, and not all of those hopes have been delivered upon. But in terms of its potential and in terms of the purpose, when it's working as intended, it will be life-changing, and it already is in many cases, for anything up to, at the moment, 500,000 Australians, their families, their carers, their supporters. And of course for providers in the sector, and obviously National Disability Services represents those providers. We'd like to think that we're actually influencing and driving some of the disruption and supporting our members, disability service providers, in not so much disrupting the lives of, but rather optimising the ability of people with disability to live ordinary lives. And that's, again, utterly consistent with the objective of the National Disability Insurance Scheme. There are at least some of our larger providers who are using virtual reality as a training tool for their current workforce, and providing a gateway to understanding what it is to be a disability support worker for those who aren't part of the sector. We know that technology is by definition a disruptor across a range of sectors. A number of our providers got on early with supporting their workforce to better use mobile devices so that they could work in the home and remotely from a centre, allowing those workers to record their hours, record the outcomes they were achieving together with the person with disability, enabling the person with disability they were supporting to actually sign off on the service they'd received, etc., etc.
Where do you see some of those disruptions going in the next year, couple of years, 5 years?
I think particularly with Gen Y and Gen Z parents and Gen Y and Gen Z people with disability, in terms of the future direction of disability employment, I think there will always be a continuum of employment options for people with disability to access. I think increasingly people with disability will be looking for more opportunities to be supported to experiment with different employment types. At one point in their life, they and their parents might be particularly interested in supported employment options. Other times in their life, they'll be interested in at least dipping their toe into the pond of open employment options. At other times, they'll be interested in establishing themselves as a micro or social enterprise. And I think that providers who are able to actually meet those expectations by providing a seamless experience across a number of different employment domains are going to find themselves very well positioned to support the clients of the future in this space. I think that we're increasingly going to see the mainstreaming of people with disability in education. I don't say that special schools will disappear anytime in the immediate future, but I do think that increasingly we're aware of the importance of education being provided in mainstream settings for everybody in the community as far as is reasonably possible. I think we're going to see virtual reality and other tools being used to support people with particular types of cognitive and indeed autism spectrum disorder disabilities, ASD disabilities, to actually practice how to engage with people in community in ways which then give them more confidence to be part of the real world, if you will. I think that there's going to be a whole industry in the development of assistive technology and cutting edge technology. And I think we're going to see a greater level of alignment and seamlessness between health and disability, mental health and disability and the like. And I think we're going to see that in part because of the experience we've recently had of the pandemic. And the importance of recognising that people with disability require health services too. With an ageing population, the incidence of people with disability in our community will also increase commensurately. I think that increasingly health professionals and health organisations will come to embrace the reality that many of the people that they're treating as patients will have a disability, and that therefore we will see over time in the future a heightened awareness in the health sector as to how to support people with disability in health. We'll see an international community working more seamlessly together around identifying what's next in terms of disability services and supports and provision. We do argue that post-COVID-19, it's imperative that the sector have the opportunity to work with government and agencies to reflect on what worked, what didn't, and to understand what we need to do next. Funding of particular supports to ensure continuity of service during a pandemic needs to be done via a mechanism other than the ones historically relied upon under the NDIS for getting paid. We certainly think there's a strong case for a national emergency and disaster fund with funding set aside to ensure, as far as is possible, continuity of support for people with disability, whether it be in a natural disaster like floods, bushfires, or a pandemic. What we don't want is the circumstances where people with disability are inhibited in their ability to get the services they need because we're working to a funding model which is intended to be fit for purpose when there isn't an emergency happening. We also have been actively engaged with the Department of Social Services and its leadership on the development of a national NDIS workforce action plan. On current estimates, we need to actually grow the sector by near enough to 120,000 FTE.
That's significant.
It represents a real opportunity to turbocharge the Australian economy and provide jobs of the future. There is an opportunity which needs to be taken to actually develop training courses, micro courses and the like that can support disability support workers, therapists and others in the sector, and management in the sector to improve the quality of the work they're doing, and by reason of that, support people with disability to improve their own lives. Ours is a sector which every day lives and breathes the importance of supporting people with disability to lead ordinary lives, to achieve the independence that everybody in the community wants to achieve. And certainly from the point of view of National Disability Services and our members, we think that our sector, living the values that it does, has the capacity to deliver great value for all Australians and be part of the economy of the future.
David Moody, CEO of NDS, thank you very much.